Hello everyone, it's my pleasure to teach you this Dynamo package. As you may know, Dynamo is one of the exclusive Revit plugin, which it's installed with Revit in new version. Dynamo is one of the most serious competitor of Grasshopper plugin in Rhino, which has various and important function in BIM structure that I wrote some of them here for you. One of them is parametric designing and modeling. As we have it in Grasshopper, you may have a variable form designed with numbers. The next item is making parameter relate to objects. What does it mean? It means you can assign some series of parameter to your Revit objects automatically. For example, assume to put one comment for some objects, put a mark for some objects. While if you don't know Dynamo, you should do this on Revit one by one. After that, the third function of Dynamo is to reduce repetitive works, which it looks like a bit to the second item, but it's from modeling stuff. For example, in a big project, you're going to model the joinery of rigidity walls. This is a very complicated job. This job needs accuracy very much. You should pay attention to it, and it's time consuming as well. But you can do it with Dynamo very fast. Well, let me give you a structural example. You have a waffle roof. You want to use a lot of formwork or balls of waffle. In normal situation, you should make a family and put all of it, and it's a very time consuming job. Trust us, we have experienced that. But in Dynamo, with a simple code, you can set all of this automatically from its map of a structural CAD. If I want to give you statistics, make you understand that how it can make your work faster. In 40,000 meter project, we were setting waffle in 12 days, while in the next project, which was a 60,000 meter one, with Dynamo, less than a half day, we could set all the waffles. So Dynamo can make you do your works, which are very repetitive and time consuming, with much accurate and fast rate. The fourth item is improving the accuracy of calculations and accurate evaluation. You're able to do energy calculations or any other calculations completely accurately and fast through the codes that you are writing them or the plugins which there are in Dynamo. This website, which is dynamobim.org, it's the official website of Dynamo that you can use it for studying of Dynamo and tutorial videos, various package, and anyway it can be a very good source for Dynamo. Let's get to Dynamo itself. And check this out. We're going to teach you Dynamo in version of Revit 2023. It's the most updated version that has been released so far. Alright, at the first stage we should open Revit. We have to wait for it. Okay, here we go. An empty screen, yes. An empty project, open it. Alright, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, how to open Dynamo now? If you go to the Manage, this tab right here, you can see the Dynamo. Click on it. When the version of Revit is updating, its Dynamo is updating as well. This version of Dynamo is higher than version 2021. It has more orders and has changed graphically very much. In our lesson, you can notice the changes in Dynamo 2023 compared to the previous versions. Whenever we are supposed to learn any software, at first we need to check its environment. Alright, let's look at this. We have a part here which is files. With clicking on New, you can open a new Dynamo. When you click on Open, you can open your previous codes which you wrote them before, and custom nodes we will check later. When you create your own exclusive code, and you use it for your other projects. We will get to that part later. And obviously the recent part is where you wrote your projects and codes before in Dynamo and you store them. And you can reuse them now. And this backup part is clear. Fortunately, Dynamo is not like Revit. Practically, Revit doesn't have backup part. Whenever your file is removed, it goes back to your last save. But in Dynamo, fortunately, we have backup or automatic save. That through this link, you can choose the location where it will be saved. Alright, let's go to the next part. In this part, you may ask for help and go to some forum where the people ask their questions and discuss about something and get their answers. And the website of Dynamo that I showed you at the beginning, here we have various references that you can see video tutorials. For example, when you click on it, you can see this screen that it has general guidance. As we are checking this subject completely, I don't think it will become useful for you. This code part, you can send some issues, and this sample part is so obvious, and you can check the samples which there are in Dynamo, and that won't be so functional. Alright, after this, if you agree with me, let's open and click on new, and let's check the Dynamo environment. Like other software, up here it has a menu. In these menus there are a lot of tools that you can use them. If I want to give you an example, for example, here I turned off the grids. Here, yes. If you click on view and background 3D preview, you can choose show grid, yes. And grid shows up. It's very simple. We have some icons here and like Revit, which has quick access toolbar. Some tools which there are in the menus, it has them here as icons, and you will find them handy and so useful, and it's very good. If we are gonna go to the next part, yes, this is library. Library is the main and central core of Dynamo. Any tool you need for your work is in library. For example, in this list, we call each title category. If we want to call this title like geometry category, we're gonna give you some example. If I click on geometry, as you can see, it's included of subcategories, which means subset. In subset of geometry, we have subcategory of curves. Let me tell you something just in case. We were told that curves are just like, bent lines. While in many softwares like Rhino or Dynamo or other softwares, curve means line or 2D drawings. You can see some examples here, which all of them are curves. For example, if I want to click on arc, it has a lot of models like 3-point, radius or center. Dynamo is included of some plugins. It's interesting because it is a plugin too. It means like a plugin which has a plugin. It's like plugin in plugin. Anyway, we call Dynamo plugin the packages, which has a menu for itself. What are the packages? They are exclusive codes which others wrote them and added to Dynamo as a plugin. It means like you want to use some tools and you have to choose from here or here, and after that you have to connect them all to create a process. They presented all of them as a plugin instead. After installing the plugins, they are added to add-ons. So we have nothing here because we haven't installed any plugins or any packages yet for our Dynamo. Often the plugins or the packages which there are in Dynamo are written by programming language of Python or C# that will be uploaded to the various websites and you can use them. Okay, fine. As it's obvious, it is the space of the screen that you can see, and the codes will be showed here. They are the products of codes, which can be a model or everything else. We call here view or viewport, which it is our workspace. Alright, let's get to work. Let's see where to begin from and let's see how to do it. There is a subtle point here that I'm gonna tell you that to show you where to begin. Alright, my dear friends, okay, I'm gonna tell you when you open a new file of Revit and then after that you click on Dynamo. That Dynamo is only for the file which you just opened that. It means this Dynamo only works for this project one. For example, I minimize it and then open another file. Open another new file. Alright, now you click on Dynamo again. As you can see down here, it says I only work for project 1. It means if I go back to project 1, Dynamo will be okay again. But there is a question here. What if we want to work on this one? The answer is simple. You have to close it, go to Manage, then Dynamo. You got it? So if you want to write a Dynamo code in a new file, surely you must close your Dynamo first, and after that open it again for a new project. If once you see here, right here, your Dynamo icon is off, you must be sure the Dynamo window is already open. As you can see, it's down here, you can find it and use it. So you should pay attention to down here, where it must not say that you are working on the wrong project. Alright, where should we start our work in Dynamo? Well, the first step in Dynamo is setting some nodes. Now maybe you're wondering what the nodes are exactly. Well, let me give you some examples. If you move your mouse right here, you choose one of them, okay? Each of these is a node. And for example, if I want to draw a circle or an arc, we call them idiomatically circle node or arc node. We call this a node, and these will be connected to each other by some wires and will create a process later. So our work in Dynamo starts with setting some nodes. For example, assume now we want to set a point. And in the most of the modelings, we start our work with point. Now I'm gonna add a point node to my work. Now there is a question here that how to add a point node to our work. In Dynamo, to add a node, there are 3 ways that I tell them in order of being more useful. The first way is more useful than others, and the second one is less, and the third one is less useful than others. To set a point, the first way is right-click on the screen and search a node which you want. And I need a point, so I search here point. Usually when you want to set a node, there are various states. For example, when you are going to draw a circle, is there only one state in AutoCAD? Of course not. For example, it has 3 dots, 2 parallel 1 points, center and radius. There are various states. It is the same in all software. For example, when you want to set a point, it asks you with which technique. The most useful node for a point is by coordinate XYZ. When you click on it, its node shows up. So I did right click and searched point, and it gave me various states. And you can see as I scroll it goes down. and it put the most useful one on top of them, which is by coordinate XYZ. When I click on it, it shows up. Well, this was the first way. Okay, let me go to the second way. You can do this on the search of library. The difference between right click then search and search on library is even when you search wrong or nearly, it gives you the right result. But when you right click then search, you must search accurately. Searching in the library is the same as when you do it in Google. For example, when you search somewhat or wrong, Google can recognize it. Well, I search point here and you can see it looks like that very much. A feature that it has is it shows the location of it. Alright, I click on it and add it here. Let me give you a point. When you click on this icon, it gives you more explanation. For example, you don't master on the nodes, and before you choose them, you can read the explanations. And if you don't want it be so occupied and you master on it, you can click on this icon again and it doesn't show the explanations anymore. So right click search was the first way, library was the second way, and the third one is to go to the categories and subcategories to find their locations accurately and choose them. For example, I need a point now. I should know that the point is in geometry category and it is in point, then point again, and of course there are various states. Well, let me maximize it. Okay, look at here, XYZ. When I click on it, it shows up. Alright, well, I hope you got it so far. So from this time forward, by right-clicking on the screen, we add our node. As you are learning to search your node, you can add it on your screen. Well, we've done this stage successfully. We added a node that we needed on the screen. Well, we are going to activate our node and give it a number, and we are supposed to learn how to work with it. Alright, dear friends, each node that you added on your screen, it has some inputs. It gets some numbers and works on them, and then it gives you an output. For example, what are the inputs of point? It needs a number, an amount. For X, for Y, for Z, it takes from 3 of them. It makes a process that the result is point. So its output is point. Well, besides we call this input, we can call them port as well. And when you give it 3 numbers, it gives us an output which is point. Alright, let's give to its X a number. This number can be positive or negative or even 0. There's an important point that you should pay attention to, is that most of the nodes for their inputs consider default numbers. Well, since as soon as I added this node here, while I didn't even give any number to XYZ, it set a point right here for me. And you think where? On 0, 0, 0. And why? Because when I move my mouse to X, it says double. Double means number. And default value is 0. And it's the same default value, 0, here, 0. All of them are the same. So if you don't give the point node any number, it considers 0 for itself. So it will set a point on 0, 0, 0 for you. Alright, let's give it an exclusive number. You just need to right click here and search number. As you can see, there are 2 kinds of number here. Number and number slider. What is the difference? Let me add both of them here, number, and again right click, search number, and click on number slider. Okay. Number slider, as it's obvious from its name, It has a sliding handle that it makes you to do this. Look. Yes, like this. It gives you various numbers. But this one, this is a constant number. If you want to give an input, a constant number, you should use from this number node. But if you want to change your number again and again, and you want it to be variable, so use number slider node. Have you ever seen the projects which is opening and closing, and their lengths are decreasing and increasing? Naturally, we use a slider in these situations, so that by moving this handle, we can control the volume and its numbers. Basically, something that is supposed to be variable in our project, or even for parametric things, we choose slider. And something that is not supposed to change, in other words, they're constant, we use number. There is a point about the slider. If you click on this, there are 3 parameters. It says with which number it starts. That means it's minimum, and it is what its maximum is, and it's a step. Look at here. For example, here its step is 1/10. It's increasing 1/10 by 1/10, and I'm gonna change it to half. As its a step changed, it's increasing differently now. Now we change it to 2, and it is increasing differently again. For example, you are using a slider for something that 0 within is meaningless. For instance, radius of circle. Well, the radius of a circle cannot be 0. For example, we say it starts with 1/10, which makes you be relieved that as much as you pull it to the left, it cannot be 0. There's another point here that you should pay attention to. If we want to type a decimal number in Dynamo, you must put a 0 before its point. For example, look at here, I type 1 and it put a 0 automatically. So be sure that you put a 0 before its point. Most of the times when you are writing it, for example, like here, it won't be corrected automatically. Alright, dear friend, for example, like here, if I write 1/10, you see, it's gonna be a problem. Absolutely, I put 0 before its point. In my opinion, you should get used to put 0 before points, like 1/10 or 2/10, it doesn't matter what it is, but you should put 0 before their points. Okay, let's go and connect these numbers to our point inputs. Let's give it 5. I'm gonna give 5 to X. To do this work, you should click on output of number. As you see, a wire is connected to this. We give it to X and then click here. What happened here? It moved a little bit. It moved 5 units to the right on X axis. For example, on number slider, I put it in 8 and 1/10. I'm gonna connect this to Y. You need to click on output and on input. As a result, you can see my point location is 5 and 8. Here, 5, 8. Alright, don't forget, you can connect a node output to some input. Alright, let me give you an example. If I gave this 5 to X, I can take another wire from it and give it to Z. Well, what happened now? Okay, now it became 5 and 8 and 5 units on Z axis. Speaking of unit, Dynamo doesn't have any independent unit, and its unit follows Revit's unit. Which means if we set 5 here now, what is 5 exactly? It is whatever it is in here, which is millimeter. As you can see, the length is in terms of millimeter. It's interesting that if you change your unit in Revit, Dynamo will update itself. It means Dynamo updates itself at the moment with Revit. Alright, let's get back to Dynamo. Okay, we've made a point and let's review it. Now I'm gonna get close to this point. I wanna see it closer. When we scroll, we can see the codes are getting closer. Our port view basically has two types. Well, as you can see, you can keep your mouse on it, and it says background 3D preview navigation. And the other one says graph view navigation. That automatically we only say background, and for this one we say graph. Now if we want to say this colloquially, it's the type that we are on code, and this one we say we are on our model, on the product which has been made by codes. When I click on it, the codes become pale. Now we can control our view. Now for example, if I scroll now, you can see, yes. For example, if I click on my mouse's scroll, alright, it makes it in pan mode. And if I want to turn around, I can right click. In fact, right click and drag. See? Okay, scroll pan mode and right click. There are some other tools right here. For example, it is zoom to fit. It makes the screen fit for you so that you can see everything on the screen. And this is for zoom in and this is for zoom out. But in my opinion, to be more comfortable, you can scroll. And this is for pan mode, which you could use scroll as well. And this one is for turning around, which you could right click. Let's get back to the code mode, shall we? And the codes become bold. And whatever you do, scroll or makes it in pan mode, it is only working on your code. And right click is meaningless and shows us the search bar. And if I click on this, it makes the code fit on the screen which we are working on. It's better for displacement between our graph mode and model mode to use Ctrl B shortcut. B like boss, Ctrl B, see? Yes, as you can see, it's so useful. When it gets pale, we are on our model, and when it gets bold, we are on our code mode. So try to practice to master on it, because Ctrl B is so handy, which can help you to change your mode simply. Alright, let's set another point. Okay, right click and search point. There's a tip that it's good to mention that it's not my teaching method. That when I say point, I desire to teach all of this. In my opinion, it's not the right way either. I believe that this journey, this course that we are together, we are supposed to work many projects. We are supposed to practice many examples. If really in many examples and projects, functional projects, a node that is not used, why would I learn that at the beginning? When we are not supposed to use a node, it's kind of useless though. So why would I spend time for it? Why would I engage myself in it? After a while, when you master on the software, even if you are in need of a node, which I didn't teach you, according to your mastery on software environment, you could guess that which one of them you should use, or with a simple search you can get that result. Our purpose is that the projects determine that which nodes we should use and which of them are more functional. Alright, let's go again by coordinate XYZ. Okay, I click on its head and displace it right here. Okay. And I'm gonna give it numbers. We're going to check another tip for this number, which we are going to give to this point. Basically, numbers divide into two types. Those which are decimal and those which are not decimal. For example, 8 and 8.1/10. We call number to those which are decimals, like these two, and we call integers to those which are not decimals, like the complete numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me show you. I right click here and search integer. Here it is. Integer slider. Integer doesn't have the number constant mode. It means integer or those which are not decimals does have slider mode. but not the number fixed mode. Let's set an integer here and compare this to number. After clicking on their arrows, both of them, yes, they may look like each other. This step, yes, could be 1/10 because it accepts decimal, but integer doesn't. So its a step probably couldn't be a decimal. For example, 2.5, yes, it cannot be, but 2, it's okay. For the number, it can be 2.5 or 2.1/10. Well, there is a simple difference between them. When our design is like that decimal numbers are involved in it, we use number. And when we want to work with the complete numbers, we use integer. Now there's a question here. Can we always use number? Since number gives us the complete numbers, of course, why not? But if in a node you are not allowed to use decimal numbers, which we will get that soon, for example division, like we cannot divide a distance by 2.1/10, it may say divide by 2, 4, 3, 5, but you cannot use decimal numbers. You may make a mistake if you use number. So when you don't need decimal numbers, in my opinion, it's better to use integer, not number. Alright, I hope you got it so far. For example, look at here, I'm gonna give 1 to x and z as well. Now I'm gonna have for y2. Naturally, if I want to have another integer, I can add it again from the beginning, or I can copy and paste it. To do that, I click on this, yes, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Alright, here we go, and give it to y. Look at this, if I move this, it moves on y-axis. Alright, if I move this one, since I gave it to x and z, it moves on the both axes at the same time. If I disconnect Z from it, and to do that you should click on it and click on free space. Let me show you again how it happened. Click on this and click on free space. Well, now they are separated. See? And this one, yes. If I give this one to both of these, it would be like this. See? It depends on that example or our design state, that how and where we should connect the numbers to. If you notice that whatever we do now, we can see the result at the same time. For example, here, when I move this, I'm seeing the result at the same time. Down here is the reason why it is like this. We have a tool here which wants us to inform it how to show the changes. When you are writing code, when you click on automatic, you can choose manual or keep it in automatic mode. Manual means that I should tell it to show the changes. When you click on manual, a run key will appear. For example, I changed this. Did it change? No. But when you click on run, it will change. Well, now I decrease it. Did it change again? No. You should click on run, then it changes. Basically, in big projects, we can use automatic mode because the project is huge and we are supposed to connect 100 wires to each other and see the result at the end. But when you put it in automatic mode, you have to wait for it to think so that it can show the result. However, you connect all the wires and you will almost complete your graph. Then click run and check the result, and you keep doing like this. There is a question here. Assume that, for example, I wanna add a new point here. Yes, right click, search point, added XYZ, okay. And copy a slider as well here, and connect it to this, yes. Naturally, it didn't make it on the screen because it's on manual mode and you should click on run, then it changes. The question is how I should know now that which one of these nodes results is not on the screen. In other words, I'm gonna say which one of these actually its result is not on the screen. You may say click on run, but no. If you want to control it, there's an adjustment here. In version of 2023, right here Dynamo menu, then after that preferences, in general tab, then activate show run preview. And down here says all changes saved automatically. Alright, after we close that, right here, yes, I change this look and then it turns into orange. So with making the wire orange, it shows you that changes didn't happen. When you click on run, it turns into black. If I change this wire turns into orange, and when I click on run, it returns to black again. Alright, I add a new node here. Alright, right click then search point, or I could copy from the previous one. Dynamo hasn't recognized it yet, cause it's not on the automatic mode. Let's copy from here and paste it here and connect it to this one. Although this node and its number were not applied on the screen, Dynamo doesn't recognize it because it doesn't recognize their presence yet. Because you click on run once, it just enters the circle of Dynamo nodes. From this time forward, it's gonna show the changes with orange color. So don't forget, if you add a node, you should click on run once, then from that moment on, it will show the changes. However, in 2023, the menus have changed compared to the previous versions. I'm gonna tell you the differences that there are between these two versions. For example, like this show run preview. To have show run preview, in previous version of 2023, go to setting tab, yes, and here it is, show run preview. So it should be selected. Graphically, it changed a lot. Alright, if I change this, yes, as you can see, the wire and the round of nodes, all of them become orange. The rule that I told you before is applied here as well. If you create a new node and you change it, it doesn't become orange. You should click on run once to recognize it first. At that moment on, it will show you the changes with orange color. Let's get back to 2023. Maybe some says the color and the graphic of the nodes was better in the previous version or more readable. If you think that way, so we share the same opinion. But being updated is more necessary than anything else. So we have no choice. We should continue our discussions in the softwares which are more updated than others. How can we select some nodes at the same time? You need to just draw a frame, then choose. We had a case in AutoCAD that will a corner of it or all of it be in the frame or not, aka window crossing. If I do this, they will be selected. So if a corner of our node is in the frame, it will be selected as well. If you want to select one by one and add a thing to its selection, you should hold shift. For example, I choose here and select this one. I'm still holding shift. Okay, I select this one. If we hold control, it won't work. It will be deselected. Like right now, we should hold shift. If you want to deselect one of them, while you are holding shift, select on the one that you want it be deselected. Let me give you a tip, then you practice. Alright, well, how can we arrange these nodes? Let's make our graphs arrangement and discipline better. Well, in edit part, we have line selection and cleanup node, which those I don't explain or I don't pay attention to. Their places are the same, as you can see, so I won't go back to the previous versions. You can see the menus are different, but some of them are in common. In version of 2021 or 2022, we don't have something like Dynamo. We have edit and view in new Dynamo as well. But we don't have this Dynamo in the previous version. Well, we were saying that in the edit tab, we have line selection and cleanup. What do they do? Cleanup is not in our control. It removes the free spaces as far as it knows fit. For example, if I draw a frame here, then if I click on cleanup, it makes them be close to each other, a little bit more compact. It often disassembles the node's rhythm. In fact, I don't agree with it. Well, for example, it puts it here like between these two. Actually, I want it be here, and I want to maintain the rhythm and the reading of my nodes. But for now, what I'm gonna do is to put this in a line on the right side. Alright, I select all of them and go to edit, then align selection, then select right, yes. For example, again, I wanna, yes, let's put it here. I'm gonna select all of them, go to align selection and then left. Well, which left? The node which is on the left side more than others, like this one. So it chooses a node which is on the left or right or up side more than others. Well, you may think that if it can't get an average from them, actually it can. Well, you can choose X average or Y average. As you can see, what happens now if you choose Y average, nothing special happens. See? Well, which state is supposed to be useful? For example, like here, if they are like this, if they are on y-axis, now we are going to click on y-average, then you can see, yes, the result. For the rest of them, I think you can guess what the result will be, which they're not complicated. Just let me undo it, okay? If you select this and then click on X distribute, it makes them not be aligned ever. For example, if I put this one here and here, yes, drag it here, then I want to select them and then click on X distribute, then you can see the result, which they are not aligned and covered by each other. Well, you can practice so far. Try to do whatever I've done very quickly. Do not underestimate them. When you right click on the screen, then add a thing and then connect a wire. Although I know it's a simple job, but it makes you do it very faster. Even you need to get used to these simple jobs. So you must do this, and your successfulness is in doing whatever I do. By mental, nothing goes forward. It's not history or geography that you can get a good result by remembering things. So right now, open your Revit, open your Dynamo, do now whatever I did. Then after that, you may go to the next video. And let me give you a suggestion. If you're in a group of those who have just provided this package and there is no book available for you, so you may take a little notes, but if you were in a good mood, you can write a pamphlet too. For example, when you want to practice, you won't have to rewind the video. A little paper, a little note, just take some headlines, then after that start practicing. But if you provided this package 1 year ago or there's a book available for you, you can use books and practice. Alright, see you.